Good evening to all of you. I welcome you all to CLAT Possible YouTube channel for this very important discussion on the basics of criminal law, which is mens rea. In particular, today we shall talk about mens rea, which is followed by actus reus, but then that's not really the part of today's topic. We shall cover that later on. Um but yeah, mens rea is very important part of criminal law. In fact, I would say is actually the foundation of the criminal liability. So होता है क्या है कि when we talk about criminal law, criminal acts, so majority of the criminal acts are based on mens rea. Mens rea simply means guilty mind. Like you can see on the slide, guilty mind. Now, what is guilty mind? The law says that if you want to hold somebody liable for a crime, let's say for robbery, for theft, for murder, dacoity, rape, etc., or any of the crime for that matter, cheating or any other related crime, then you must look at their mental status as well. So the mental state of the accused is important. Okay. By mental state, what I mean is consciousness, whether he had some consciousness related to what he was doing or not. If there is no consciousness at all, if he had no awareness of what he was doing, then his liability may be questioned. Okay. So there are two types of crimes under criminal law. I would say category one is that category which contains crimes which are driven by mens rea or crimes in which mens rea is relevant. And category B is the category where mens rea is not relevant, which are called strict liability offenses. Okay, strict liability offenses का मतलब होता है कि a person may be liable even without having any guilty mind, even without having any guilty mind. But let's look at the scenarios where guilty mind forms essential part. So let's take an example to understand this situation. Let us say that in an examination hall, the students were asked to deposit their cell phones in a box kept outside the examination hall. Everybody was asked to deposit their cell phone outside the class. So one of the students, let's call him Ramesh, he also deposited his cell phone. When the exam got over, and when he went back to take his phone from the box, he found that there are so many cell phones because there were so many candidates, hundreds of mobile phones were lying in that box. And then he picked up a phone, believing that he is picking his own cell phone. That's what his belief was. He thought that he's picking up his own cell phone, but he in fact picked up a wrong mobile phone. It belonged to somebody else. So because it looked similar to that of Ramesh's phone, it was the similar make, same model, similar color, right? So it was very confusing. So out of, I would say, as an honest mistake, as an innocent mistake, he picked up somebody else's mobile phone and took it home. It is only when he reaches home after some time he realized that he has brought home somebody else's cell phone. It's a wrong mobile phone. Correct. Now, when this entire incident was captured in the CCTV footage, so a case of theft was filed against him. A case of theft was filed against him, stating that he had taken away somebody else's mobile phone. Now, this is where the concept of mens rea comes into picture. Okay, law says that theft is one such crime which must show mens rea, presence of mens rea, presence of guilty mind. That, in other words, means presence of consciousness of the mind. That he was aware, at least he had this awareness that what he was doing was wrong. Now, when the investigation was conducted, it was found out that he actually made a mistake. Okay, it was proven in the court that he made a mistake. He genuinely thought it was his mobile phone. If it is proven, then he is not liable for theft. because there is an absence of mens rea. There is an absence of guilty mind. His mind is not guilty. Okay. When does the mind become guilty? When the mind is aware of the wrongdoing. अगर मुझे पता है कि जो मैं कर रहा हूं वो गलत है, इट इज अनलॉफुल और इट इज इलीगल, देन आई हैव गिल्टी माइंड. Otherwise I don't have it. So guilty mind has lot of components, lot of dimensions to it. ठीक है. मतलब अभी in the next slide we will see that what all amounts to guilty mind, but before that let's have a solid background ready. So you see the maxim here, actus non facit reum nisi mens sit rea. इसका मतलब क्या है? That जो action हुआ है, whatever action is committed. So in this case, Ramesh, what action did he perform? He took away the mobile phone. That was the action. So we call it actus. So action has to be coupled with guilty mind for a crime. ठीक है. सो एसेंशियली देर आर टू कंपोनेंट्स. एक्टस रियस, जो कि फिजिकल एक्शन होता है, जो कि उसने परफॉर्म किया बाय टेकिंग अवे द मोबाइल फोन, बाय पिकिंग अप द सेल फोन, ही परफॉर्म दैट फिजिकल एक्शन, बट इट वाज नॉट कपल्ड विद गिल्टी माइंड बिकॉज ही वाज नॉट अवेयर. सो प्राइमरीली इसके अंदर जो चीजें आती हैं मेंस रिया के अंदर, वो एक बार समझते हैं. एंड बिफोर दैट आई होप नाउ यू अंडरस्टूड कि जो क्राइम कमिट हो रहा है वो बिना मेंस रिया के कमिट नहीं हो सकता. ऑन द अदर हैंड, इफ आई चेंज द सिचुएशन, इमेजिन दैट Ramesh, when he was searching for his mobile phone in the box, he found out that there is another mobile phone lying in the same box, resembling to that of his mobile phone, which is a newer phone, relatively नया phone है. तो उसने he thought of taking away the new phone, जो कि किसी और का है. ठीक है. He wanted to take it now. So the moment he decided to take it, there arises a guilty mind. There arises a mental state of consciousness or a mental state of awareness. Now he knows what he was doing. So now, if he deliberately picks up a mobile phone, which is not his mobile phone, and takes it home, he will be committing the crime of theft, because both the components of mens rea and actus reus are clearly fulfilled. I hope this basic understanding about mens rea is clear. And now we are ready to get into more details about mens rea as to what all mens rea really includes. So you see on the slide, there are basically three types of mens rea, three types of guilty mind. Or I would say the common thing in these three elements is the mental state. These are mental states of a person. A person, if a person has an intention of doing something, then he has a guilty mind. If a person does not have intention of doing, but knowledge or awareness, consciousness, then also he has guilty mind. Or if a person has no intention or not even knowledge, but just ignorance, pure, simple ignorance, like he does not care about what's happening, not caring enough or not paying enough attention to what is happening, that will amount to ignorance, and which is also a kind of mental state, which is also a kind of guilty mind. We will discuss examples on all three states. Okay, let me re-clarify. These three are the dimensions of mens rea. And if a person has any of these mental states, listen to me very, very carefully. If a person has any of these mental states, then according to law, he has guilty mind. So it is possible that a person does not have intention but has knowledge. It is possible that a person does not have knowledge but has ignorance. In any of the cases, he will be liable for having guilty mind. Although guilty mind alone does not make you liable under the criminal law unless it is accompanied with physical action, वो मैं बता चुका हूं. बट अभी वो चीज टॉपिक के बाहर है. Let's now focus on these three elements in detail. Okay. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you can post that in the live chat. I have access to your questions and I will be able to answer directly. So the first element is intention. Now, intention refers to desire, some kind of desire, or I would say willingness, the voluntary nature of doing something. If you want to do something, if you want to achieve something, if you have a certain target, if your mind is focused on a result, particular outcome, तो वो कहलाता है intention. In short, it is also called intent. So intent or intention, one are the same thing. ठीक है. This is the highest form of mens rea, the most, I would say, the strongest form of mens rea. That when a person shows intention to commit a crime, like in this case, the case that we discussed, when Ramesh clearly knew that it was not his mobile phone, despite knowing that he picks it up and takes it home, he clearly has an intention of stealing it. He wants to steal it. The fact that he wants to steal is intention. Let's say A shot B in the chest because A wanted to kill B is a clear example of intention, is a clear example of mens rea in the form of intention. ठीक है. But then sometimes a person may have no intention but just have knowledge. वो भी guilty mind होता है. Let's take an example in this situation. Understand, let's say that there is a chemist, uh, and a customer approaches him. A customer visits his shop to buy a certain drug, a certain medicine, which is a rare medicine and which is available only on prescription because it can have side effects. It can have fatal side effects. So the man approached the chemist, and the chemist, let's say the chemist had an intention of killing that man. They had some old rivalry, so the chemist thought of this as a good opportunity of killing that man. So now the chemist deliberately gave him a wrong medicine, deliberately gave him a poisonous drug, which when the buyer consumed it at home, he dies. He dies. Okay. Now in this case, let's just focus on the initial act. What happened? The chemist deliberately gave him poisonous drug. That means he wanted to kill him. If he wanted to kill him, it is intention. And intention is naturally, it naturally covers knowledge. Implied है. ठीक है. तो ये बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग केस बनेगा जहां पे हम बोल सकते हैं कि हाँ, गिल्टी माइंड एग्जिस्ट करता है. केस नंबर 2, इसी सिचुएशन को मॉडिफाई करके देखते हैं. When that customer approaches the chemist, now the chemist does not want to kill him. Obviously, ऐसा कोई थॉट उसके दिमाग में नहीं आया कि मैं इसको मारूंगा या आई शुड किल हिम या आई शुड फाइंड एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू किल हिम. ऐसा कोई थॉट उसके दिमाग में नहीं आया. But what he does, when he saw that drug in his shelf, in his shop, he saw that it has expired long ago. It has expired long ago. And he also knows that it is such a kind of drug which, if expired, becomes poisonous. Which, if expires, can become poisonous. The shopkeeper, the chemist, is clearly aware of it. But now he doesn't want to kill anybody. But because he's a businessman and the drug is very expensive, he's a businessman. He wants to make profit out of it. He doesn't want to get into loss. He just wants to clear his old pending stock of medicines or drugs. So what he does now he delivers the same to the customer with the knowledge that something wrong can happen. Something wrong, even including death, can occur. But he does not want to kill him. He has no rivalry with that man. Let us say he never knew who the customer was. Now, if something happens, we can say that he does not have intention to kill. He never wanted to kill the buyer, the patient, but he had knowledge that he might kill, that his actions might end up killing somebody. ये consciousness उसको है. This consciousness in itself is enough to constitute knowledge in the wrongdoing of unlawful act. So tomorrow, let's say if you want to file a case against him, so he cannot come up with a defense. He cannot say that, sir, I had no intention to kill. I never wanted to kill anybody. I never think of bad about anybody. All of those arguments are useless. The only argument that will stand solid, strong is that he had knowledge, and knowledge is a part of guilty mind. मतलब अगर आपको पता भी है कि आप कुछ गलत कर रहे हो, करना आप नहीं चाहते हो, तो भी गिल्टी माइंड, तो भी मेंस रिया है. One and the same thing. So in both the cases that we just discussed, the chemist would be liable to at least have guilty mind. If you have any questions till here, let me know quickly. Otherwise, then we go to the third element, which is ignorance. Now, ignorance is a completely different aspect. When a person is ignorant, he chooses to be ignorant. Okay. In the first case, the choice is of an intention. In the second case, the choice is of a knowledge. In the third case, there is a choice of being ignorant. So, of course, all of these three things are choices, separate choices. But an ignorant person may not have intention to do something. He may not be wanting to achieve anything. He may not be wanting to, attain a certain result. At the same time, he also may not have clear knowledge. He may not have clear knowledge of what might happen. The interesting part is that he doesn't care about the consequences. So when you don't care about the consequences, that is called ignorance. When you have not even thought about the consequences. See, in the knowledge section, the person at least knew the consequences, right? But in the ignorance section, you don't want to know the consequences. You don't want to think about the consequences. You are so rash, you are so negligent, you are extremely careless that you don't care about what can happen. That is ignorance. Let's talk about a very relatable practical example. I'm sure all of you have heard about hit and run cases. Hit and run we all understand, right? कोई स्पीडिंग कार आती है, किसी को हिट कर दिया मार्केट में या हाईवे पे या रोड पे अदरवाइज. ठीक है, यूजुअली वी सी दैट जो स्पीड होती है वो बहुत ज्यादा होती है. इट कैन बी एनी कार, इट कैन बी अ लग्जरी कार, इट कैन बी नॉन लग्जरी कार, एनीथिंग. ठीक है, लेट्स से वन अ मैन ड्रोव हिज स्कॉर्पियो at the speed of 140 kilometer per hour in a narrow crowded street. If a man is driving his Scorpio at 140 km per hour in a narrow crowded street and he runs down runs over two three people on the way, then he obviously what he will say when he's arrested for that hit and run, he will say that okay, I never wanted to kill anybody. Fine, that's a good argument. He never wanted to kill anybody. He is not a murderer. जब वो घर से निकला था तो वो ये सोच के नहीं निकला था that I want to kill somebody. Fine, no intention is there. Second element is knowledge. Does he have knowledge that he will be killing somebody? I would say no clear knowledge, no clear, no clear understanding in the mind that this is the plan. Okay, no motive. But all he has shown is negligence. He did not think about the consequences. He doesn't care about the consequences. He drove so fast without having bothered about what might happen. That's ignorance. Chose to ignore the consequences, correct? But interestingly, that also is a type of guilty mind, that also is a type of mens rea, and uh, he will not be able to escape his liability. Liable तो वो होगा because ignorance है. ठीक है? Are you able to understand everybody? Let me know if you have any doubts. So guilty mind has three dimensions. I have explained all of them to you. It is intent, knowledge, or ignorance. Any of them or any one along with the other one will form or constitute mens rea. What if let's come back to the chemist example. What if when somebody approached him with a drug, with a prescribed drug, and the chemist was so busy, he was so occupied that he did not look at the the medicine, whether he was delivering the right medicine or not. He did not look at that at all. He chose to ignore, or he gave the wrong medicine, or he gave the expired medicine, which now whatever happens in future doesn't matter. But at least he has shown clearly mens rea in the form of ignorance. He can always say, I never wanted to kill anybody. I never knew I would be killing anybody, because he is not focused. Usko to pata hi nahi hai. That's negligence. So yeah, criminal negligence जो होती है, that is based on ignorance. Criminal negligence is based on ignorance. I hope all the dimensions to mens rea are clear, and that we can now understand the role of mens rea in crimes. Okay, I'm waiting for your questions, queries. If at all you have any, let me know quickly. और should I move on to the next one? Because actus reus अभी हम लोग डिस्कस नहीं करें, but actus reus is just putting your thought into action. When you just put your thought into action, that is putting guilty mind into physical action, that will be actus reus. Okay, now let's look at this question. I want all of you to solve and answer. Post your answers in the live chat. So the right answer in this question is that it is just a preparation, but he still has mens rea. Okay, the answer would be that D, option D will be the right answer, because he just committed a preparation. And preparation refers to the stage of mens rea. Like I said, nobody is liable only at the stage of preparation or only at the stage of mens rea. Okay? Because as of now, he had not planted the bomb in the targeted house. आंसर तो उसका डी हो जाएगा. But there is a larger question attached to it, which is that whether he had any mens rea or not. Clearly, the answer is yes, because he wanted to do it. In the facts it is mentioned he planned to plant them early next morning. अगर उसका ये प्लान है और फैक्ट्स में फर्स्ट टाइम लिखा है wanted to kill नंदिनी, wanted to do something is intention, बात ही खत्म हो गई. क्लियर कट केस ऑफ इंटेंट फॉर श्योर. Answer will be D. Now, this is a separate chapter as to what is preparation, what is attempt, and when does something become an attempt, and when does something just remain preparation, when does something become a crime. ये सब चीजें हम बाद में पढ़ेंगे. स्लोली स्लोली आई विल कीप कमिंग अप विद फर्दर वीडियोस. अभी सिर्फ बेसिक्स को स्ट्रॉन्ग करने के लिए मैंने ये वीडियो बनाया. ठीक है. इसके अंदर एक जो कॉमन इंटेंशन होता है, एक तो हमने मेंस रिया पढ़ लिया. नाउ कॉमन इंटेंशन क्या होता है? यू कैन रीड द डेफिनेशन. व्हेन अ क्रिमिनल एक्ट इज डन बाय सेवरल पर्संस, इसके अंदर काफी सारे लोग हैं. इन फर्दरेंस ऑफ द कॉमन इंटेंशन ऑफ ऑल, let us say there are five people and they all of them have decided to do something together. All of them have shared a certain intention or a certain plan together. Let's say all of them want to rob a bank. When five people jointly want to rob a bank and they are working on it, they are planning about it, we call it common intention, which is also known as pre-arranged plan. So whenever there is pre-arranged plan, everybody is liable. Look at what the law says. Each of such persons is liable for that act in the same manner as if it were done by him alone. All of them are liable individually. इसका मतलब क्या है? Let me give you an example. Let's say there are five people who want to commit robbery, and two persons actually enter the bank, and three persons are waiting outside at different locations, simply assisting them. But they all had the same plan. They all have a plan that they will distribute the money among themselves. So two people are actually inside the bank and three people are waiting outside, guarding, maybe, helping them out, facilitating the robbery. So when the robbery is committed, eventually, everybody shall be liable for the offense of robbery. Everybody, all five of them. Now the rest three people who were outside the bank, they cannot make an excuse that we did not commit robbery because we did not enter the bank. That argument is bad. That argument is useless, because we have the law which says common intention. If any act is committed, focus, break down करेंगे law को. When any act is committed, and there is a common intent of several persons, then everybody is liable. So it doesn't matter who did what. It does not matter out of the five persons who does what. Does not matter. As long as they all had common intention to commit the robbery, they all are liable for the offense of robbery. I hope I am absolutely clear in this case, and you can solve this question before we sign off with this video. This is about common intent. Quickly solve this question. Let me know the answer. Yeah. So the answer is that everybody is liable for the offense of murder because again it's a common intention, it's a plan commonly made, commonly intended, and it does not matter who does what. Right? In the second line, it is mentioned that they opened fire on the members of Darshan's family. It was found that the shots of Roshan did not hit anyone. It does not matter. Like I said, who does what, किसके करने से क्या होता है, who brought about what outcome or what result. These are not relevant points. What is relevant is number one, like I said, did they have a common intention? Did they have a shared intention? If the answer is yes, they all are liable for the outcome. As simple as that. Okay. So the answer shall be option C. I hope this small topic of mens rea is absolutely clear. And here is a quick recap. So, firstly, most crimes require mens rea, which means guilty mind. Without guilty mind, there is no criminal liability. Guilty mind is a state of mind, is a form of the mental state, and there are three dimensions to it. Number one is intention, then there is knowledge, and then there is ignorance. So if a person has any of these three mental states, then he is said to have mental guilty mind in the eyes of law, and criminal liability can be imposed on the basis of any of the three elements. First thing clear ho gaya. Then we saw what is common intention. So something when it is shared by people, several people, it all becomes a crime. Okay, I hope this concept should be clear. I would suggest solve a few questions on mens rea and get more clarity. But one final tip before I sign off, that despite the fact that you know in detail now what is mens rea, what all are the components and everything, do not apply extra knowledge unnecessarily. Just restrict yourself, confine yourself to the principle of law given to you in the examination. If your principle talks about only one aspect of guilty mind, which is intention, understand. If your principle talks only about one aspect of guilty mind, that is intention, then do not apply the other two elements, the other two types. Okay, I just want to say that only restrict yourself to the principles which are given to you in the question. Do not apply unnecessarily any other concept. With this, I will now sign off. If you have any doubts, please feel free to post them in the chat box. We will answer them as soon as possible. And also let me know that what do you want on what topic do you want me to help you out in legal reasoning. You can post any topic which you think is difficult for you to understand, and I'll come up with a video on that topic to help all of you out. Right? All the very best. Keep working very hard. Keep thinking like lawyer. Keep learning. Never stop learning. And law is amazing. Like always, I always say that it's in fact the most interesting subject that the CLAT has, and also because you are going to stay in touch with this subject as long as you practice law in whatever form. All right. So with this, I sign off. Thank you so much. Have a great time, and I'll see you all once again very, very soon. That's my promise. Let me know what do you want me to teach in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye.